Attention all cryptocurrency traders and investors. It's happening again. Right before our eyes, possibly Bitcoin's worst nightmare happening right now as we speak inside of this chart. Take a look. The top of 2021 right here was marked by bearish divergence, where price went here, then went a lot higher, while the indicator did the exact opposite. It went high and then a lot lower. What is happening right now is Bitcoin is in the midst of incredibly strong bearish divergence. And the million-dollar question is the top in? And what is happening inside the charts? What is happening with these facts? Because like I said, last time we had bearish divergence, it marked the market cycle top. This time, we've had bearish divergence playing out before our eyes for quite some time. So is this thing about to break? Is it about to get scary? Is it about to get real ugly? Or is there something brewing in the midst, in the clouds, deceiving everyone that's about to swoop in and completely shock the world? In today's video, I want to uncover exactly that. What are the chances that this bearish divergence right now, right before our eyes, snaps and this thing starts plummeting? Or is there something lurking in the bushes, hard to see, that's going to come swoop out of nowhere and absolutely skyrocket the market? What are the chances of that playing out? That's what I want to get into in today's video, 100% based on the facts. Let's get into it. Hey, I'm Steve. I show you facts in the charts. No paid ads, no paid sponsorships, just straight facts that really help you. Subscribe. So here we are, Bitcoin US dollar index, and today we're on the weekly chart, and boy, do we have something brewing. Because let's be honest, right from the beginning, this right here, right now, in this chart, could be Bitcoin's worst nightmare playing out right before our eyes. To better understand this situation and to better understand if something is lurking in the woods and something is brewing, we're going to split today's video into 3 parts. And we're going to gain all the information because there's a lot of information that's recent and up to date that I've got to give you. 3 parts of today's video. Part 1 is price action, the top of the chart. Part 2, RSI, middle of the screen. Part 3, stochastic RSI. And then later in the video, I want to give you a little secret clue, a little secret chart that I used to stay ahead of everybody. It's going to be a little competitive advantage, so make sure you do not miss that. Let's start today with price action. And before we really jump into price action, let's be honest. We have bearish divergence right now in crypto, and that is not up for debate. So what is bearish divergence? Bearish divergence is when price basically goes up. It makes a high like it did in April 24. Then it makes another high like it did in December 24. Then it makes yet another high like it did back in October 25. Right? We can all agree. Look at the chart right here. We can all agree that that's a high, higher, and higher. It went higher 3 times. We can all agree. That's not up for debate. What we also can't debate is that at the same time that price was going up, our indicator was going down. Also not up for debate, meaning the RSI made a high March 24th, just like price. But then price went higher and the RSI went lower. Then the price went higher again and the RSI went lower again. This is an anomaly. As I've said before, this is classic bearish divergence. Typically, when you have price go up, the indicators follow. This is what typically happens. It sends a warning message to traders and investors when there's bearish divergence. It tells us that something's not right. Something is brewing. Something is lurking in the woods. There's something not right. Something doesn't smell right. Something doesn't look right. So to traders and investors, bearish divergence typically break to the downside. No hype, just facts. Subscribe and relax. However, we have been in bearish divergence quite literally since March 24. And what we also can't deny is that bearish divergence quite literally marked the market cycle top of 2021. Not up for debate. Price went high here, then went higher here while the indicator went high back in January 21 and then went lower in October 21 to spell disaster. That was Bitcoin's worst nightmare. What we don't want to happen is for Bitcoin's worst nightmare to be playing out right before our eyes. So let's start with price action. What you see on our chart is this beautiful moving average. Now this is the 21 SMA, standing for simple moving average. You throw that bad boy on the chart, on the weekly chart, and what you'll notice is that every once in a while we dip our toes below there. Then we go up in price, we rally up high, then we dip our toes back below this moving average, we gather our steam, then we shoot up in price again, and then we get overheated, we dip our toes back below this moving average, and the thing repeats. So when you're looking at the chart, you want to look for repeatable patterns, because repeatable patterns are all over the charts and they give you a competitive advantage when everyone else freaks out and you realize, wait a minute, this is just a repeatable pattern. Then you can make decisions that will really benefit you and your portfolio and your family's future. When you look at it, you can say, okay, we have this moving average. I see it now. We dip our toes below, then we rise in price. But what is that thing that makes us rise? Like, how do we know when we're going to rise? Well, it's what is at the bottom of our screen, the stochastic RSI. Every time we dipped our toe below this moving average, we needed one thing to happen. Momentum. Momentum is happening in the stochastic RSI. And on the weekly chart, that only happens twice per year where we have a cross. And guess what Bitcoin is wanting to do? We'll give a little wink, wink. We'll give a little nudge, nudge, and we'll come back to it later of what is happening right now, quite literally, in the stochastic RSI. Because we know a cross happens 2 times per year, and it marks the biggest move of the year those 2 times. Plain and simple, like clockwork. So when we dipped our toe below, we were waiting for one thing and one thing only, stochastic RSI. Stochastic RSI brought us to that next wave. Then we have a stochastic RSI cross down, and we were waiting for the next cross, which happened here, September 24, back when price was about 50K. We went from 50K up to over 100K. With just the little stochastic RSI cross. Then we came back down, we dipped our toe below, and we were waiting for one thing and one thing only, and that's the stochastic RSI cross that took us from about 74 up to about 126. And that was the recent stochastic RSI cross, the only other one we had in 2025, which came in March. Keep in mind, we have not had our second one, and typically we have 2 per year. That's not up for debate. These are facts. Now, what we notice about price action is in a bit of trouble. We have fallen a little bit from our support from this moving average, although we've done that every time that we dropped below. So in this chart alone, as we look at it, is there major cause for concern? No. What we do notice is that there may be cause for concern in the RSI. So let's get there and let's unpack what is happening. So middle of our screen, RSI, keep in mind, RSI is overbought, oversold. When the RSI gets really high, that means all the humans are buying. That's usually the best time to sell. And when the RSI gets really low, guess what? All the humans are selling, and you always want to do the opposite of all the humans. Why? Because in trading and investing, in the history of mankind, humans have always done horrifically, really horribly in any part of trading and investing because of one word: emotion. Humans are not using logic, they're using an emotion. When everybody starts to sell, they freak out and they're like, oh my God, I've got to be like everybody else, I've got to sell. So every year for the last hundreds of years, humans have been making these ridiculously horrible mistakes, but they keep repeating them. So we put them in a chart so you can easily see it. It's like, oh, all of the humans, wow, they must have been really selling down here, because that's the lowest the RSI was maybe in 10 years. Like, you go back to 2018, we were there a little bit, but back in 2022, that the RSI was the lowest ever. That's why those are the OGs that remember. People have been following me for a couple years. I was the crazy person telling you to buy at 15, 16, 17,000 when the rest of the world called us crazy. They said, don't buy anything until it goes below 10K. I came out and said, it's not ever going to go below 10K and you need to buy now. We used charts, we used facts. We didn't use any crystal balls. We didn't try to predict the future. I was just trying to help people. And you can see the charts will speak to you. When you look at the facts, when you judge the facts, it will help you tremendously. So what you can see with price action and paired with these moves up, we understand the stochastic RSI. We're going to get to what the stochastic RSI is doing right now, but we've got to unpack a little bit more. There is some trouble in the RSI, and it has to do with structure. Now, when you look at the structure, you can say, okay, we haven't been below this structure, since before the bull run started, right? In other words, since December 2022, we've been going up in price, but our RSI has held structure. No hype, just facts. Subscribe and relax. This is something to really watch out for. This is something to pay attention for, but this is a little red flag to throw into the mix, because the market will have a lot of curveballs, but the chart will scream to you when there's some turmoil brewing. And that's what we got here. We've got obviously bearish divergence that's forming, but we need to watch out for these clues that are in the charts that tell us, like, hey, something is hitting under the rug, and this hidden thing under the rug could really wipe us out and make us fall flat on our butts. We've been trying to push it under the rug so we don't see it. It's still there. It's under the rug, and it could definitely ruin things. That's what we see brewing with the market structure here. Now, when you pair these together, there is one little secret chart that can help us sort of make sense of this, because we understand Bitcoin could very well be in its worst nightmare, meaning we had our market top of 2021 quite literally marked by bearish divergence. We know there's bearish divergence right now, and we know that Bitcoin has failed the test multiple times to avoid bearish divergence. I go back to December 24 when I said that the RSI had to get above this one, which I said repeatedly would be very rare. This RSI peak in March 24 was ridiculously high, and we warned that this would create bearish divergence in December 24. And we warned that we had to create a higher high back in June and July, which we failed to do. So Bitcoin had a chance to avoid bearish divergence. Not once, but twice. It failed both tests. Then it's having trouble with its structure. But luckily, something is brewing. Something is lurking that could come in and save the day. So what I want to cover now is, what is that thing that's brewing and lurking that could save the day? And what is this little secret chart that could help us make sense of all of this? Let's start with the brewing and lurking, and then let's finish with that secret chart. Brewing and lurking. One thing that could really save the day is the stochastic RSI cross. Quite literally, we have 2 per year, and we haven't had our second one, and we've been waiting to have it. What is also very interesting, and this is a little bonus tip, is if you go to the 2-week chart, we have a 2-week stochastic RSI cross once per year. And it looks like the market will not move until we have that cross. In other words, we're going to have a tandem cross. What's lurking and brewing in the bushes is not just a weekly stochastic RSI cross, which happens 2 times per year. We're pairing the weekly cross with the 2-week cross. You can see it playing out on the charts. It's playing out right before our eyes. We're going to have a double power stochastic RSI cross that's going to be the 1 week and the 2 week likely crossing at the same time, sending a lot of momentum into the market, which will shock the high majority. Now, you may need to replay that again because that's going to be missed by the high majority, because right now they're in fear, which leads us to our next chart, the secret chart. So we understand what's brewing and lurking in the woods, which could save the day, is the weekly stochastic RSI with the 2 week. Price will not rise until that happens, and it likely will continue to fall until the weekly stochastic RSI crosses back up. Here is the secret chart that a lot of people will miss. So right now you want to know, like, hey, are we in a bear market? Like, is this thing over? Like, what should I do right now? I really want to sell. This is the strongest urge to sell I've had in a long time. What should I do? Well, look at this chart, the fear and greed index. Where are we at? We're in extreme fear. We're in extreme fear. And that means everybody's selling. What do you typically want to do? You want to do the opposite of everybody. So is everybody like sort of selling right now? No, they are selling in troves. Everybody is lining up to sell. Look, we're in extreme fear. This game is a simple game. You want to do the opposite of the high majority. They are in fear and they are selling. You should be greedy and you should be doing what? So this is what I'll show you. If we are down here where we've hit this market structure, if you look at the history of the fear and greed index, in the history of when we've been this low, you can see that these historically have been incredible buying opportunities. What I will also say, and most people do not know this about Bitcoin, if you take the last 5 years, imagine, close your eyes and you think about Bitcoin the last 5 years. Imagine you had 5 times to buy and you bought at all the worst times. Literally, you bought it right at the peak, right before it crashed for the past 5 years. And you totally screwed it up. You will be in profit if you hold for a couple years, even if you bought at the worst possible times. That's what's really misunderstood about the market. Everybody's trying to time the perfect buy and the sell. If you literally just screw it up more than you can ever imagine, but you hold for a handful of years, you will be in profit. So what does that tell you about today? Should you be selling like everybody else? No. We've looked at the facts. We're in extreme fear. We're waiting for a stochastic RSI cross up, and that is what will propel the market forward. By the way, I wanted to say thank you. Thank you for your continued support as we always go against the herd. And shout out to the OGs that have been by my side for 7 or 8 years. Trade like a tourist or go with the pros. The FFA is where the real ones go. Link in description.